The life he didn't plan. The phone rang at 3:07 a.m. Not the soft buzz of a notification. Not the familiar alarm he used to wake his son for school. This was different. Sharp. Urgent. Relentless. Daniel Carter opened his eyes slowly, heart already pounding, the way it only did when something was wrong. The room was dark except for the faint blue glow of the digital clock on his nightstand. 3:07 a.m. Nobody calls at that hour with good news. The phone kept ringing. Daniel reached for it with a hand that suddenly felt heavier than it should. The screen flashed an unknown number. For a moment, he considered letting it go to voicemail. Then his instincts, sharpened by 3 years of being both mother and father, screamed at him. He answered. Hello? There was a pause. Breathing on the other end. Fast. Shaky. Is this Daniel Carter? Yes. Who is this? Another pause. I'm calling from Mercy General Hospital. Sir, your ex-wife has been admitted. She's in emergency surgery. The words landed one by one, like stones dropped into water. Ex-wife. Hospital. Surgery. Daniel sat up in bed. What happened? He asked, his voice already hoarse. We don't have much time, the woman said quickly. There were complications. Internal bleeding. She lost consciousness on arrival. Daniel rubbed his face, trying to wake himself fully. Trying to understand why this was happening now. 3 years after he had finally rebuilt something resembling a life. Why are you calling me? He asked. The answer came quietly. Because, you're listed as her emergency contact. Daniel closed his eyes. That couldn't be right. She removed me from everything after the divorce, he said. I'm not. Sir, the nurse interrupted gently, the surgeon asked me to tell you something. Her condition is unstable. There's a consent issue. And, you're her last hope. The room felt suddenly smaller. Daniel swung his legs over the bed, feet touching the cold floor. What does that mean? He whispered. It means, the nurse said, voice trembling now, that if you don't come, we don't know what will happen. The call ended. Just like that. Daniel sat there in the darkness, phone still pressed to his ear, listening to the silence. 3 years. 3 years since the divorce papers were signed in a courtroom that smelled like old wood and broken promises. 3 years since she walked away. 3 years since he became a single father overnight. The man he became. Daniel glanced toward the open bedroom door. In the next room, his 8-year-old son, Noah, slept curled around a stuffed dinosaur with one missing eye. Daniel had stitched it himself. Because that's what he did now, he fixed things. Lunchboxes. Torn backpacks. Nightmares at 2 a.m. He learned how to braid hair by watching videos. He learned how to cook dinner with one hand while helping with homework with the other. He learned how to smile in public and break quietly in the shower. What he never learned, no matter how hard he tried, was how to stop loving her. Emily Carter. The woman who once promised forever. The woman who shattered it. Flashback, the day everything ended. 3 years ago, Daniel came home early from work. He had planned a surprise. Noah was at preschool. Emily had the day off. He remembered smiling as he turned the key, rehearsing what he would say. I thought we could go out tonight. Just us. Instead, he heard laughter. A man's voice. From their bedroom. Daniel never screamed. Never punched walls. He just stood there, frozen, as his entire life collapsed without a sound. Emily didn't beg. She cried, yes. But not because she was sorry. Because she was caught. I didn't plan for it to happen, she had said. I didn't mean to hurt you. Those words haunted Daniel more than the betrayal itself. Because they meant she hadn't thought of him at all. Back to the present. Daniel stood now in the hallway, pulling on jeans with shaking hands. He looked again at Noah's door. If he went to the hospital, Noah would wake up alone. If he stayed, Emily might die. The woman who broke him. The mother of his child. The love he buried but never erased. Daniel pressed his forehead against the wall. Why now? He whispered. His phone buzzed again. A text message. Unknown number. Please hurry. Time is critical. Daniel closed his eyes. This wasn't about Emily anymore. It never was. It was about the kind of man he wanted his son to grow up believing his father was. He grabbed his keys and stepped into the night. March 3rd. When the past bleeds into the present. The hospital never slept. Its lights were too bright for grief, too white for forgiveness. Daniel parked crookedly, barely remembering to turn off the engine before running inside. The automatic doors slid open with a hiss that reminded him of the last time he'd stood in a place like this 8 years ago, holding newborn Noah while Emily cried tears of joy. Now the air smelled like antiseptic and fear. Daniel Carter, a nurse, called out. He turned. She was young. Too young to be carrying news that could end a life. Yes. She motioned him forward. Follow me. Every step down that hallway felt like walking backward through time. His shoes echoed against the tile, loud enough to wake memories he'd spent years trying to silence. They stopped outside double doors marked surgery, authorized personnel only. The nurse exhaled slowly. She came in with severe internal bleeding, she said. Ruptured uterus. Emergency hysterectomy. Daniel swallowed. She collapsed at home, the nurse continued. Neighbors heard Noah crying. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. Noah, he asked sharply. My son is here? The nurse nodded. Child Services has him temporarily. He's asking for you. Daniel closed his eyes. This was no longer a choice. The paper he never thought he'd sign again. A doctor approached, gray-haired, exhausted, honest. Mr. Carter, he said. We need consent. Your ex-wife listed you as medical proxy. Daniel stared at the clipboard. Consent. A word that tasted bitter. You haven't spoken in 3 years, the doctor added gently. But right now, we need you. Daniel looked through the small glass window. Behind it, blurred by motion and light, Emily lay on a table. Machines breathing for her. He remembered the sound of her laugh. The way she used to steal fries off his plate. The way she had looked at him like he was home. And the way she had walked out without looking back. Daniel's hand trembled. If I sign this? He asked, will she live? The doctor didn't lie. We'll try. That was all anyone could ever promise. Daniel signed. The child in the waiting room. Noah sat curled into a plastic chair, feet dangling, dinosaur clutched tight. When he saw Daniel, his face broke open. Daddy! Daniel dropped to his knees and held him so tight the world faded. I was scared, Noah whispered. Mommy wouldn't wake up. Daniel kissed his hair, voice breaking. I'm here. I've got you. Noah pulled back, eyes red. Is Mommy gonna die? Daniel opened his mouth. No words came. So he did the only honest thing. I don't know, he said softly. But she knows we love her. Noah nodded, then whispered something that shattered him. I prayed for you to come. Hours that feel like years. Time lost meaning. Minutes stretched. Hours collapsed. Daniel sat holding Noah while surgeons fought a battle he couldn't see. He replayed every moment of his marriage, searching for signs he'd missed. Moments where love had quietly slipped away. Had he worked too much? Listened too little? Loved too gently? Or was betrayal something that happened no matter how good you tried to be? A nurse finally approached. Mr. Carter. Daniel stood. They stopped the bleeding, she said. She's stable, for now. His knees almost gave out. But, she added, there were complications. She'll need someone when she wakes up. Daniel nodded slowly. Noah looked up at him. Can we see Mommy? The nurse hesitated. Then nodded. When she opens her eyes. Emily woke up crying. Not loud, just broken. Daniel stood beside the bed, hands clenched, heart unsure whether to protect itself or break open again. She turned her head. Saw him. Her breath caught. You came, she whispered. Daniel didn't answer. Tears slid down her temples. I didn't deserve it, she said. But I hoped. Noah stepped forward, tiny hand reaching for hers. I missed you, Mommy. Emily sobbed. Daniel finally spoke. This isn't about deserving, he said quietly. It's about being human. She looked at him, then really looked, and saw the man she had destroyed, and the father he had become anyway. I was wrong, she whispered. Daniel nodded. I know. Truths that surface when life stops lying. Emily didn't sleep after that. The medication dulled the pain, but not the guilt. She lay awake staring at the ceiling while machines whispered around her, reminders that time was no longer something she could waste. Daniel sat nearby, arms crossed, eyes tired. Noah slept curled against his side. Finally, Emily spoke. There's something you don't know. Daniel didn't look up. There's a lot I don't know. Her voice cracked. I didn't leave you for him. Daniel's jaw tightened. You were in our bed, he said. That's not interpretation. That's memory. Emily nodded slowly. I know. But that wasn't the reason I left. Silence stretched. I was sick, she whispered. Daniel looked at her then. Sick how? The bleeding didn't start tonight, she said. It started years ago. Before the divorce. Daniel felt the room tilt. I didn't want you to look at me like I was broken, she continued. The doctors said pregnancy could kill me. That I might not live to see Noah grow up. Daniel clenched his fists. So you cheated, he asked. That was your solution? Tears streamed freely now. I wanted you to hate me, Emily said. I needed you to leave strong, not stay out of pity. Daniel stood up. You don't get to decide how I love, he said, voice shaking. You don't get to rob me of that choice. Emily closed her eyes. I know, she whispered. And that's why I deserve everything I lost. The choice that defines a man. The doctor returned the next morning. Mr. Carter, he said. There's another complication. Daniel stiffened. She'll survive, the doctor continued, but recovery will be long. She'll need help. Constant care. Daniel glanced at Emily. Then at Noah. The past stood on one side. The future on the other. Emily spoke first. I won't ask you, she said quietly. I gave up the right. Noah stirred. Daddy? He murmured. Mommy's not alone, right? Daniel knelt. What do you think? He asked. Noah thought carefully. People shouldn't be alone when they're scared. Daniel's eyes burned. That was it. That was the answer. 3 years later. Life didn't rewind. It didn't erase scars or rewrite history. But it grew, carefully. Emily moved into a small apartment nearby. Daniel helped, not as a husband, but as a man who refused to let bitterness raise his son. They learned new boundaries. New respect. New honesty. Some nights, Daniel still hurt. But he slept peacefully. Because forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. It meant choosing not to bleed forever. The final scene. Years later, Noah stood on a school stage. "I want to be like my dad," he said into the microphone. "He taught me that kindness is stronger than anger, and love doesn't stop when people make mistakes." Daniel sat in the crowd, tears falling freely. Emily met his eyes. And nodded. Not as a lover. But as someone saved, not by surgery. But by grace. Sometimes the last hope isn't about saving someone else. It's about saving who you choose to be.